What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do a little bit of a different kind of video. I didn't feel like making a review, honestly, so I wanted to do something more topical. So we're going to talk about three products whose performance was higher than my expectation, and three products that performance was a little bit lower than my expectation. Keep in mind, I'm not saying these products are bad. The ones that were my expectation was higher than their performance was. You could say that, perhaps my expectations was a little bit too high, if you will. So if you own some of these products that I didn't love, don't feel bad. Don't rage on me in the comments. You can rage on me in the comments. I just won't care. You know what I mean? It just didn't line up for me, right? And I'll explain why. So without further ado, let's just jump into it, okay? And I'll flip-flop back and forth. So we'll do a positive and then like the opposite, right? So first product, JL Audio subwoofers. These surprised me in a really good way. I was expecting like a lot of really good things from them, and they delivered all those good things, but I was not expecting them to have such good start-stop behavior and transient response. That was one area where they just totally took me by surprise, guys. Part of the reason for that is JL Audio uses really heavy moving mass for their subwoofers, and generally speaking, subwoofers with really heavy moving mass don't have incredibly good transient response or start-stop behavior. However, JL Audio subwoofers have enormous motor sections, and that is one of the reasons why they're going to have fantastic start-stop behavior and transient response. So that's that one. A product where my expectation was a little bit higher than its actual performance was the Wharfedale Evo 4.2 bookshelf speaker. It's not a bad speaker, and if you can get it set up properly, it actually punches above its weight by quite a bit. However, and if you watch Sean's video from Zero Fidelity, almost half his video is dedicated to setup. And that's because these speakers are so setup dependent, and that's what let me down. Now, I was not expecting a plop and drop solution. I wasn't expecting them to sound good in 5 minutes. I knew I had to work for it a little bit. I had watched his video, but I was not expecting to have to spend days on days tweaking a millimeter here, a millimeter there. Guys, I came to find out whether I wore a t-shirt or a hoodie affected how those speakers sounded. Whether I was just like looking straight on or had my phone in my hand affected how the speaker sounded. The mid-range beamed at me quite a bit also, and then if I moved them like just a millimeter, they wouldn't beam, and it was just way too much setup. Absolutely hated that. If you're the type of person that likes to use one pair of speakers for a couple of weeks and maybe switch to something else, Wharfedale Evo is not for you. Wharfedale Evo is for someone that can be really, really patient to get them just dialed in perfectly. You're never going to move them. You're not even going to clean them because that might affect the sound. And you're going to sit in the middle of a perfect triangle. You're never going to move. You're not going to check your phone while you're listening to music. You're not going to move your head. You're going to look dead center and listen. And if you do that, they will sound absolutely incredible. That's not me. I do sit in the middle of a perfect triangle. However, I can't have a speaker that's that fussy. It just let me down in that regard, unfortunately. Worth mentioning, however, what you get for the money in the Wharfedale Evo 4.2 is very impressive. And they do punch above their weight with respect to price when set up properly. Next, let's talk about a product where my expectation was a little bit low and the performance was way better than I expected. Polk Reserve R100 bookshelf speakers. Holy crap, guys. I had viewed Polk for years as a brand that was just like, it's for the average consumer. It's not audiophile, You could buy it in big box stores. It's relatively affordable. It's just a whatever speaker, good enough. I bought a pair of Polk R100s because so many people said they were good. I was so wrong. They sounded incredible. I absolutely love them. I still own them. I can't bring myself to sell them. Smooth treble that is still open and detailed and never fatiguing. Warm mid-range with good tonal richness. And a presentation that just helps me connect to the music emotionally. Fantastic speaker. Highly recommended. Next, let's talk about a product where my expectation was high and it just came in a little low. ELAC, B6 5.2 bookshelf speaker. It's a $250 speaker, give or take. I think they're like $289 technically, but you can catch them on sale. Anyhow, A lot of people had reviewed this speaker, super hyped up. So I was expecting greatness, and it didn't have it. It had good tonal balance, but it sounded like a $250 speaker. The treble was a little bit grainy. It wasn't the most refined, you know what I mean? It wasn't, giving me a whole bunch of effortless clarity or anything like that. And, that's okay. It's only, $250. But people had hyped it up like it was so good. Now, if you own the ELAC Debut B5 or B6 5.2, look, it's a decent speaker for $250. My problem with it is the Emotiva B1 Plus is the same price, and its treble is way more refined, gives you way more clarity, way more effortless detail. It does have a little bit of V curve to it, so it's not going to be the most balanced speaker from top to bottom, but you get a ton more bass output. To me, it's just a better speaker overall, unless the thing you love about the ELAC is the balance from treble mid-range bass. Then I guess go for it. To me, it was a total letdown. Next, let's talk about a product whose performance was higher than my expectation. Rel T7X subwoofer. Now, like the JL Audio, I was expecting good things from Rel. I mean, I love Rel subwoofers. They make fantastic subwoofers. The T7X, though, it's an 8-inch subwoofer. It has 200 watts RMS, and its extension spec isn't all that impressive on paper. I think it's like in the 30s, right? That's not very low. However, in my room, the subwoofer extended way lower than I expected, and its sense of scale was so much larger than I was expecting from an 8-inch subwoofer. I was super impressed by that. Like I said, I expected it to sound good. I knew it was going to sound good. I just didn't expect that sense of scale or the extension I got. Now, just to be clear, guys, I'm not saying this 8-inch subwoofer was extending like a 15-inch subwoofer in my room, but my in-room response was quite a bit better than Rel's published specs. So, if you've been staying away from the Rel T7X because of the extension specs on paper, guys, in-room response is a totally different situation. I highly recommend you check out this subwoofer. It's awesome. For an 8-inch, 200 watts RMS, you're going to be very, very, very surprised. Lastly, a product that my expectation was a little bit too high for its performance was actually another Rel subwoofer, the T0. Now, I must admit, this one is mostly my fault. It's only a 6.5-inch subwoofer. It's only got 100 watts RMS. The entire physical size is essentially a 9-inch cube. This thing is tiny. However, my expectations were high because I had heard the Rel T5X, and that's a small 8-inch subwoofer with 125 watts. And I was blown away by how much extension it had for how small it was. I was blown away by the sense of scale it had. I was blown away by its fidelity and musical prowess. To me, the T5X, I was like, Rel works magic. Surely they'll work some crazy magic with the tiny 6.5-inch T0. And that's where my expectations were too high. The irony here is in my own YouTube review of the T0, I talk about managing expectations. I talk about how the T0 is for someone that's got a pair of speakers they love. They don't necessarily love bass or want a ton of bass. They're just looking for a little bit more fullness to the sound of their speakers, not even necessarily more extension, just a little bit more thickness. That's where the T0 comes in. But my expectations were that it was going to perform like something much larger. And that's because that's what the T5X did for me. But physics matters. A 6.5-inch driver is only going to be able to do so much. Now, I'm not saying that the T0 is not a good subwoofer. It is. I certainly wouldn't use it as the primary subwoofer for a home theater system. But again, for someone who's got a small room, you love the sound of your speakers, you wish they had just a little bit more fullness, the T0 is going to be great for that, right? But if you're someone who loves bass like me, you're looking for extension, you're looking for that subwoofer experience, it's not what the T0 does. T0 is just going to make your speakers feel like they're a little bit larger, if you will. So that's my list, guys. Let me make sure I didn't leave anything off. No, I didn't leave anything off. Real quick, let me give you some quick channel updates. You know what I mean? I just want to shoot the shit with you guys for a second, and then we'll wrap it up. So I got a ton of stuff to review still. The irony is right now, I don't have any subwoofers in for review. That's going to change in a few days. I'm supposed to have some stuff in the mail from someone. We'll see. But right now, at this very moment, I don't have a single subwoofer in for review. Ton of speakers, bought most of them with my own money. We got the Dyne Audio Special 40 we're going to do. We have the CSS Crichton 1 TD, not the X, the TD, the cheaper one. We have, I'm late to the party on this one, but the Triangle Bro 2s. You guys keep asking me about those still. All these years later, they're still popular. So I bought a pair of those. Focal Canta #1, $8,000 a pair. I grabbed a pair of those. I didn't pay that for them. I bought them on the used market. Still expensive on the used market, honestly. What else do I have? Emotiva was gracious enough to send me a review sample of their B2 Plus speakers, the new big boys. I got high hopes for those. You guys know I love the B1s. If I didn't say it in this video, those Emotiva B1s, those are my benchmark speaker for $249. They're so good. What else do I have? Oh, you know what I grabbed, guys? I grabbed those cheap Sonys, the SSCS5s, I think they're called. I grabbed them on Amazon for like 98 bucks. Everyone said they were so good. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's find out. Because I've listened to a lot of cheap speakers that people said were good, like the, was it the Dayton B652 Air, the Mica MB42X, and like I gave them decent reviews because they were like under 100 bucks, but I hated them. They were like not speakers that I could ever listen to. They were just lacking so much refinement and clarity. I was like, hey, you know, like they're $80 speakers. What can you expect? Like they play music, like they're good enough. Those Sonys though, I listened to them for about 20 minutes the other day, guys, and they can't take too much power. They can't play very loud. They will start to distort, but you keep the volume reasonable. I was really, really surprised. We'll do a full review later, of course. What else do I have? I think that's everything. Oh, one last thing. My friend let me borrow the Bowers & Wilkins 607S2. I grabbed those because Andrew Robinson reviewed the 606S2. Those were the ones where he was like, oh, these are like crazy bright. Like, you know, he hated them. And I don't like bright speakers myself. But ever since he made that video, I wanted to check out a pair of Bowers & Wilkins 6 Series Anniversary Edition speakers because I just wanted to see like how bright are they really? You know what I mean? What I've come to learn about myself is I can handle a bright speaker as long as it's got the refinement. I don't think brightness on its own is what bothers most people. I think it's the lack of refinement that generally comes with more affordable, brighter speakers. So we're going to find out if that Bowers & Wilkins 607S2, if it's just bright or if it's extended and refined. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have the best equipment to match to it because my equipment is like cool, analytical, fast, etc. And based on the way people describe that Bowers & Wilkins speaker, it almost sounds like it really needs a tube amp or something that's rolled off, and my gear is not rolled off, it's extended. So, oh, I also got to review this Denafrip stuff. Got the Venus 2 DAC and the Hestia preamp. I don't have an amplifier from them. I'll try to check one out in the future. And real quick before I wrap this video up, Denafrip's Venus 2, absolutely incredible. I love it so much. You guys know I reviewed that Pontus 2, and I sent it back. You know, I was going to buy it, but I didn't because I was like, you know what I mean? It was my first experience with an expensive DAC. Like, it wouldn't make sense to just buy it. And after I sent it back, I just missed it the whole time. I love my Aries 2, I do. But I'll give you guys like a sneak peek into what the Venus 2 is like. The difference the Aries 2 made from going from internal DAC to the Aries 2, that's like the difference the Venus 2 is to the Aries 2. Like going back to my Aries 2 now is almost like using the internal DAC. Going from my Aries 2 back down to like a internal DAC is like unlistenable almost. You get spoiled, you know what I mean? That's what happens. You listen to good stuff, you get spoiled. I bought an OLED TV recently. I'm spoiled now. I can't watch LED now. It's so annoying. And I have a good LED TV too. I have the Sony X950G. That's what's behind me. And that was like Sony's best LED TV when it came out. Guys, if you're wondering if OLED is really all it's cracked up to be, it is. Holy crap. I watch a lot of space shows like Star Trek Picard, Discovery, Orville, stuff like that. And, you know, space scenes got a lot of darkness to them. Man, on an OLED, it looks absolutely incredible. Guys, if you're on the fence about OLED, like, fuck all this audio shit. Get an OLED TV. They are so awesome. And if you game, oh my God, they're even better. All right, I'm going to shut up because we're talking about TVs now, and this is not a TV channel. I will say this. If you are into TVs, guys, I found 2 reviewers that were super cool. One of them is called Stop the FOMO. Hilarious name. I love that. The other one is HD TV Test. I use those dudes' videos a lot when I didn't know what TV to get, and that's how I ended up with the LG C1. I just figured I'd give them a shout out real quick because I watched so much of their content. I found it super helpful. They don't even know who the fuck I am or anything like that. This is not like a paid spot. I'm just letting you guys know those are dope channels. Also, though, if anyone wonders, my favorite YouTuber in the whole wide world is a YouTube channel called Hitman89. And if you're wondering what kind of humor I love, it's his type of humor. He does video game reviews, and I die from his humor. I love it so much. Anyhow, with that said, we're super sidetracked. This video has been done for like, I don't know, 5-7 minutes now. So I'm going to shut up. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Join the free Discord if you want. If you do join, don't be like an asshole. You know, just be chill. And until next time, later.